you really need to work on yourself before starting a new relationship, especially if you've come out of one that didn't end very well. Thank you so much for joining us today on Second Act TV. So happy to welcome Joni Caldwell Lerner back to Second Act, the motivational coach, life strategist, communications expert, Joni, which is what we want to focus on today in large part. Thanks so much for joining me again.
Oh, it's my pleasure as always.
This is a topic, of course, that comes up a lot, starting new relationships, that you really need to work on yourself before starting a new relationship, especially if you've come out of one that didn't end very well. And a lot of people ask, one, what does it even mean to work on yourself? And today I want to go through just, I don't know, 7, 8 points that will clarify what it means to work on yourself before starting a new relationship. Anything you want to say before we get going?
Yeah, if you're out there and you're hearing this and there's any kind of negative connotation regarding working on yourself, have an open mind, because it's not about some, deep psychological, you're broken and you need to fix yourself. That's not what this is about. This is about learning from experience, fine tuning, polishing up, and then getting back out there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the first point, Joni, is take time to be single, and that gives you an opportunity to really figure out what you want. Sounds logical and simple, but not so much for a lot of people.
Yeah. If you're used to being in relationship, or you think that being in relationship means that you have a level of success, society always said, you're an old maid if you're past a certain point, right? This is 100 years ago or 50 years ago. And then if you aren't married, and then if you don't have kids, it's like all these beliefs and mores that are thrust upon us. And the truth is that each individual is different. That when we come out of a relationship, it's a really good idea to do like a post-mortem, so to speak. What went wrong? Where could I improve? What did I not like? What did I like? And then whatever it is that you need to work on, take the time, because you deserve it. And you're worthy of really feeling confident and whole going into the next adventure.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't do that if you're already with someone. Jumping from relationship to relationship, which is something that, well, it's prevalent. And that's why, just making that point, take your time to be single. And I don't know, how long does that, 6 months, a year? I mean, is there a time limit or a time suggestion?
Well, everyone's different, but I would say 6 months is a goodly sum. If you really want to deep dive, take a year. If you're 85, you might want to take 3 months. It's completely up to you. But as I've said on this show before, that if you don't heal or address what went wrong, what wall you came up against in the last relationship, if you don't fix, heal, address, shine a light on, whatever, you're going to come up to the exact same wall in the next relationship and the next relationship and the next relationship. So you owe it to yourself to take the time.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Well, and that leads us to another point here, is acknowledging the pain within you. What is it that you're feeling? And don't reject, as they say here, the ugly feelings. What does that mean exactly?
Well, sadness, anger about the loss of the relationship, feeling unworthy. These are ugly, so to speak, emotions. They're not the happy face. And I think in the article that you shared with me, it was a brilliant line. It said, "Don't use your next relationship as a human Band-Aid." I love that. I always said, don't use me as a Pez dispenser. Like somebody steps on my foot, I open my mouth and I, send out a healing, whatever. You don't want that. You don't want the something from the outside to make you feel better in the moment because you're not healing what's underneath.
And people don't like to deal with pain and hurt and feelings and letting those rise and sitting in them. And to your point, I think you just said it, if you don't, it comes up over and over and over again. So
Listen, if you eat your emotions, like if you stuff your emotions down, then people drink over them, they eat over them, they gamble over them, they have gratuitous or fortuitous sex to fill the space, right? So you don't want to stuff it down and pretend it's not there, because guess what? It really is. And it's in your somatic body, and it will come out as a trigger.
yeah, exactly. Another
Mhm.
important point here, we've said that on several shows, take some responsibility for your previous relationship. It's never 100% one person's fault. It can
Right.
certainly be a lot, but it's never
Yes.
100%. And that the responsibility piece is really the only one you can control. So tell me about that, Joni.
Oh, I love what you just said. So take some responsibility, take 100% responsibility of your sum, right? Your part in it. Because if you don't, if all you do is point back and say, he or she, blah, 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 to me, you are a victim, and you will stay a victim, and you will create a victimhood in the next relationship. If you don't learn to take responsibility and accountability for your own beliefs, behaviors, and interactions with other people, communication with other people, you won't change it. You know, if you are empowered, if you get it, then you're going to, even in the moment, and I think we talk about conflict in a little bit, but even in the moment, if you're able to just go, ooh, ooh, this is me. I'm really reacting here, and it's way above what the incident was. Make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
again, producing the show as I have now for the last, what, 5 years or so, so much has come up to where I see myself and a lot of this advice that I get to read, all the time or talk with. And again, that's why we bring this stuff up. So hopefully you, our viewers, can identify with some of it if it's something that's going on in your life. Here's another one that
Wait, let me just say something about what you just said. The reason that people resonate with you, the reason they keep coming back to second act TV is because you're real, because you're showing up and you're saying, and this is me too. You're not saying, I'm above all of you and I know what I'm saying. You're saying, I'm a human. I've made these mistakes. I'm learning as I go. I'm even learning from my own show.
our next point here then, and this is okay, this is something I did struggle with, probably still do, is get a handle on jealousy,
Mm-hmm.
especially because especially at our age, or so many relationships we've had, infidelity runs rampant in breakups,
Mm-hmm.
and jealousy can just kill a new relationship. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think jealousy can kill an old relationship too. Uh, so jealousy is a protectiveness or an on guardedness about what you think is yours, right? If, and this is, I'm going a little high here. The truth is, if you're supposed to be with this person, you'll be with this person. If you're not supposed to be with this person, you won't be with this person, and he'll blow it up. If he blows it up, then good for you, you get to move on.
Mhm.
But if you think that you have to have this person, and you do this to um, keep them in a container, that jealousy part,
Mhm.
then that energy does not allow the expansive next level stuff you can go to. So if you trust this man, you trust this man that he's doing his best, or this woman,
Mhm.
depending on who you are out there, trust that they're doing their best. They love you. They would not do something that stupid. And if they do, they're not your person. So you can just let go of the jealousy. And I didn't even know I was going to go to that place on that topic, but how does that sound to you? What does that feel like to you?
No, no, it does. It's true, and it brings up feelings of inadequacy, I
Mm-hmm.
think. Which, when I heard that, it's like, gosh, that is really something to think about. Why does jealousy come up? Yeah, I mean, in my case, again, and I've said this on many other shows. I had a husband screw around me for 25 years, so it's kind of natural that I would have trust issues.
Yes, yes, yes. That story,
Mhm.
this is important. This is going to help other people. So thank you for this. That story is in the past
Mhm.
with a completely different person and a completely different Silka.
Right. No,
Okay.
exactly. Well, that's the
Okay.
biggest thing is just not caring for it, realizing it's all different. And then once I realized that,
Mhm.
it was a relief. And I know lots of other people are in that same position. So I'd like to bring that up when we do cover these topics. Another good point. Well, building self-esteem
There you go.
and becoming your own savior. Building self-esteem, what don't we know about self-esteem, Joni, that we can quickly cover to show the importance of building it?
Well, okay. So self-esteem comes from doing things that bring you self-esteem. So if you want self-esteem, do esteemable things. Do things that are aligned with your values, that are kind to yourself. Negative self-talk, for example, you want to just nip that in the bud. You want to notice that you're doing it. You want to let it go. That's an old belief. It came from long ago. Here we are in the past again. If you're in the moment and you realize that you are deserving, like the snowflake, right? You are absolutely worthy of all the dreams that you have, the connection with another human being. You're absolutely worthy. If you come from that place, there is a self-esteem there. So you want to do things that bring an energy of alignment, of happiness. If you're reading a book, if you're taking a walk, these are esteemable things.
Well, and self-confidence, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, a little different, but there's nothing sexier, many people say, than a confident person. And before you start a new relationship, it's good to bring that back. You really do need to feel good about yourself. There's nothing worse than being with somebody that's constantly putting themselves down.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want to hear that. I do not want to hear that. I do not want. Have I said I don't want to hear that? So, so if you can't get to that place, because people are out there going, well, how do I do that? Act as if you're confident. See in your mind, what would that look like? You know somebody who's really confident who walks into a room and the room goes, whoa. So be that person, you know, act as if you feel confident, act as if you like yourself, act as if you feel beautiful, act as if. And then what happens is your brain doesn't know that you're acting as if. It goes, oh, we're beautiful, we're confident, we're fabulous. I like this. And then you can keep doing it and becomes a natural thing.
There's a lot written on that works. I know it may sound silly if you haven't ever heard it before, but that's true. Act as if, and all of a sudden you're bringing it along. The universe just kind of makes it that way. Lastly, Joni, and this is so important. Again, we can do a whole show on this. Learn compassionate communication. That's kind of gotten to be a buzzword. I don't know, maybe it's been around, otherwise known as nonviolent communication. But let's briefly touch on that. And I'm going to link to a good article on this so our viewers can get more specific on what that means. But let's touch on it.
Compassionate communication. First of all, there's a word empathy, not sympathy, empathy. Being able to put yourself in your partner's shoes. Compassionate communication to me means being able to self-regulate. And that's another of the 5 key elements of emotional intelligence, being able to self-regulate. So become self-aware of what you're doing
Mhm.
and then be able to self-regulate. So you're not screaming at a person. And I mean, my relationship now, he's profoundly moved by the fact that we don't have conflict all the time.
Mhm.
We may have disagreements,
Mhm.
we may have things that we need to work through, but I'm not. Neither of us are violent communicators
Mhm.
at all. Being compassionate, being empathetic, being self aware, being in the moment, noticing, oh my gosh, if it's hysterical, it's historical, which means that if you are violently reacting to a tidbit that just happened, you have triggered something from the past,
Mhm.
historical.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's something that needs to be flattened and neutralized. It's getting in the way of your relationship.
Right, exactly. Or some need is being triggered or not addressed. Or, I mean, it gets pretty deep, but it makes so much sense that if you have a tendency to be, and when we say violent, I don't mean, knock them out, to be violent,
Explosive.
explosive, verbally
Mhm.
violent, ways of arguing, then compassionate communication is really, really something important
Yeah.
to
If that is something you notice about yourself,
Mhm.
it is probably a coping mechanism that you learned in childhood
Mhm.
and you no longer need it. if you have the goal of having a harmonious, beautiful, last part of your life, then that explosivity, that violent communication is getting in the way. So you can empower yourself to change that.
Well, Joni, we're coming to the end. So, as always, is there anything else you want to point out on this topic before we close out today?
I just want to say one last little tiny piece, which is for those of us maybe 60 and above, stoicism was admirable long ago, but also it's isolating, and we tend to suffer for it. This is a new age. This is a new day. You don't have to suffer. And doing the work, as we've been talking about, can be it can be fun. It doesn't have to be some stigmatized thing.
What a great point. And it is fun learning about yourself, becoming self aware, and all of a sudden stuff makes sense that you've done or that you did wrong. And oh my gosh, was that me? I don't know. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, it's
I'll
kind
link.
of a waking up, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Exactly. Joni, again, thank you so much. As usual, we will link to all of your information, to your website, to your podcast. And if anyone needs more deeper answers, if you want to coach with Joni, we do have your link in the show notes below. And we'll see you again soon, Joni, on Second Act TV.
See you soon.
If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right here. Just click on through to YouTube, and when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too, and we'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.